Neville Goddard, Out of This World, Chapter 2, Assumptions Become Facts. Men believe in the reality of the external world because they do not know how to focus and condense their powers to penetrate its thin crust. This book has only one purpose: the removing of the veil of the senses and traveling into another world. To remove the veil of the senses, we do not employ great effort. The objective world vanishes by turning our attention away from it. We have only to concentrate on the state desired in order to mentally see it. But to give it reality so that it will become an objective fact, we must focus attention upon the invisible state until it has the feeling of reality. When through concentrated attention, our desire appears to possess the distinctness and feeling of reality, we have given it the right to become a visible, concrete fact. If it is difficult to control the direction of your attention while in a state akin to sleep, you may find gazing fixedly into an object very helpful. Do not look at its surface, but into and beyond any plane object, such as a wall, a carpet, or any other object which possesses depth. Arrange it to return as little reflection as possible. Imagine then that in this depth you are seeing and hearing what you want to see and hear, until your attention is exclusively occupied by the imagined state. At the end of your meditation, when you awake from your controlled waking dream, you feel as though you had returned from a great distance. The visible world which you had shut out returns to consciousness, and by its very presence informs you that you've been self-deceived into believing that the object of your contemplation was real. Let's repeat that sentence. The visible world which you had shut out by closing these returns to consciousness, and by its very presence informs you that what you have been self-deceived into believing that the object of your contemplation was real. But if you know that consciousness is the one and only reality, you will remain faithful to your vision, and by this sustained mental attitude confirm your gift of reality and prove that you have the power to give reality to your desires, that they may become visible, concrete facts. Define your ideal and concentrate your attention upon the idea of identifying yourself with your ideal. Define your ideal. Assume the feeling of being it, the feeling that would be yours were you already the embodiment of your ideal. Then live and act upon this conviction. Live and act upon this conviction. This assumption, though denied by the senses, if persisted in, will become fact. Though denied by the senses. You will know when you have succeeded in fixing the desired state in consciousness by simply looking mentally at the people you know. In dialogues with yourself, you are less inhibited and more sincere than in actual conversations with others. Therefore, the opportunity for self-analysis arises when you are surprised by your mental conversations with others. Those are those here. If you see them as you formerly saw them, you have not changed your concept of self. For all changes of concepts of self result in a changed relationship to your world. If you see them as you formerly saw them, you have not changed your concept of self. For all changes of concepts of self result in a changed relationship to your world. Those conversations are here. Remembering previously on the last tape or the one before, on the last video or the one before, I was talking about taking the conversation, excuse me, I hope I don't lose my point. When I said, tell your friend that new good news. Oh yeah, I'm dating somebody now, and we're getting along great, and they've known you for a while for not being in a relationship, and now you have a new relationship. and they call you out of the blue, and it has been a month or two since you've heard from them and you've talked to them, and they call you, and you just spring right onto them, even though in your 3D reality this is not so, but you are concentrating on it while you fall asleep. You say this to them for the fun of it. Oh yeah, it's been great. I've been dating somebody new, and it's been just a great time. We're going out all the time. We're having a lot of fun. And this just seems very serious, and I'm just loving it. And they're going to just watch their surprise. Watch their surprise. Now, I said to practice that in doing that with somebody that you talk to that is a friend of yours. But at the same time, what he just said right here is, when you imagine that friend and you imagine those conversations, have they changed here? Now, the one I mentioned just now to use is instilling that change. But what he's saying here is that if you see the same old conversation with somebody and it's not changed here with them, then it hasn't changed here. Repeating, in dialogues with yourself, you are less inhibited and more sincere than in actual conversations with others. Therefore, the opportunity for self-analysis arises when you are surprised by your mental conversations with others. If you see them as you formerly saw them, then you have not changed your concept of self. For all changes of concepts of self result in a changed relationship to your world. In your meditation, allow others to see you as they would see you were this new concept of self a concrete fact. You always seem to others as embodiment of the ideal you inspire. Embodiment. Embodiment. That is your physical 3D self. Embodiment. You always seem to others an embodiment of the ideal you inspire. Therefore, in meditation, when you contemplate others, you must be seen by them mentally as you would be seen by them physically, were your concept of self an objective fact. That is, in meditation, you imagine that they see you expressing that which you desire to be. That's when you're imagining them congratulating you on the new relationship. Oh, I'm so glad to hear, and you're hugging them, and they're giving you a hug, and they're saying, I'm so glad to hear this new relationship, and it's working out great. And you're in your imagination, in your falling asleep state, being congratulated by them, you're creating the new reality right there. Therefore, in meditation, when you contemplate others, you must be seen by them mentally as you would be seen by them physically, were your concept of self an objective fact. That is, in meditation, you imagine that they see you expressing that which you desire to be. What does the imagination cost you? Your imagination is right there, ready to be used anytime, 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 night or day, morning or evening. If you assume that you are what you want to be, your desire is fulfilled. And in fulfillment, all longing is neutralized. Remember, once you have the attainment of your desire, there's no logical, or actually, there's no reason to imagine it anymore because you've already attained it. That's also called going into the Sabbath, when you know it's done. You cannot continue desiring what you have already realized. Your desire is not something you labor to fulfill. It is recognizing something you already possess. Your desire is not something you labor to fulfill. It is recognizing something you already possess. Remembering again that 4D is your imagination, and that is reality. You already possess it if you imagined it. It's already in your possession in your imagination. It's already in your possession in the shadow world right here, 3D reality. Now that's the step you're taking, okay? It is assuming the feeling of being that which you desire to be. Believing and being are one. The conceiver and his conception are one. Believing and being are one. The conceiver and his conception are one. Therefore, that which you conceive yourself to be can never be so far off as even to be near, for nearness implies separation. If thou canst believe, all things are possible to him that believeth. Being is the substance of things hoped for. for the evidence of things not yet seen. If you assume that you are what you want to be, then you will see others as they are related to your assumption. If you assume that you are what you want to be, then you will see others as they are related to your assumption. If, however, it is the good of others that you desire, then, in meditation, you must represent them to yourself as already being that which you desire them to be. It is through desire that you rise above your present sphere, and the road from longing to fulfillment is shortened as you experience in imagination what you would experience in the flesh, where you are already the embodiment of the ideal you desire to be. I have stated that man has at every moment of time that choice before him, which of several futures he will encounter. But the question arises, how is this possible when the experiences of man, awake in the three-dimensional world, are predetermined, as his observation of an event before it occurs implies? This ability to change the future will be seen if we liken the experiences of life on earth to this printed page. Man experiences events on earth singly and successively in the same way that you are now experiencing the words of this page. Imagine that every word on this page represents a single sensory impression. To get the context, to understand my meaning, you focus your vision on the first word in the upper left-hand corner, and then move your focus across the page from left to right, letting it fall on the word singly and successively. By the time your eyes reach the last word on this page, you have extracted my meaning. Suppose, however, on looking at the page with all the printed words thereon equally present, you decided to rearrange them. You could, by rearranging them, tell an entirely different story. In fact, you could tell many different stories. A dream is nothing more than uncontrolled four-dimensional thinking, or the arrangement of both past and future sensory impressions. Back to the previous paragraph, you could literally do that. When this was written by Neville in 49, I said? You could literally not do that. It would take quite a bit of effort to make another story out of all those words. But today you can go to ChatGPT and take Out of This World 1949. You could take any page of this and do exactly what he said. And you could tell ChatGPT to use the words of this quote. You could copy one page and get an entirely different story and meaning out of it. I'm sure ChatGPT could pull that off. It does everything else. A dream is nothing more than uncontrolled four-dimensional thinking. Uncontrolled four-dimensional thinking, or the rearrangement of both past and future sensory impressions. Man seldom dreams of events in the order which he experiences them when awake. He usually dreams of two or more events which are separated in time, fused into a single sensory impression, or, in his dream, he so completely rearranges his single waking sensory impressions that he does not recognize them when he encounters them in his waking state. For example, I dreamed that I delivered a package to the restaurant in my apartment building. The hostess said to me, "You can't leave that there." Whereupon the elevator operator gave me a few letters, and as I thanked him for them, he in turn thanked me. At this point, the night elevator operator appeared and waved a greeting to me. The following day, as I left my apartment, I picked up a few letters which had been placed at my door. On my way down, I gave the day elevator operator a tip and thanked him for taking care of my mail, whereupon he thanked me for the tip. On my return home that day, I overheard a doorman say to a delivery man, "You can't leave that there." He heard, but it was somebody else experiencing it. On my return home that day, I overheard a doorman say to a delivery man, "You can't leave that there." In the dream, he heard the hostess say to him, "You can't leave that there." Back to his waking self. As I was about to take the elevator up to my apartment, I was attracted by a familiar face in the restaurant, and as I looked in, the hostess greeted me with a smile. Late that night, I escorted my dinner guests to the elevator, and as I said goodbye to them, the night operator waved goodnight to me. By simply rearranging a few of the single sensory impressions I was destined to encounter, and by fusing two or more of them into a single sensory impressions, I constructed a dream which differed quite a bit from my waking experience. When we have learned to control the movements of our attention in the four-dimensional world, we shall be able to consciously create circumstances in the three-dimensional world. Back to what I said in the previous video, I believe it was, when I talked about learning about how to use the dream state, or even in the video before that, there's nothing more important than investigating your dreams or becoming awake in your dreams or writing down your dreams or understanding that that is four-dimensional reality. And what he just said is a profound statement as to the practice of remembering your dreams, writing them down in the morning. The way you're going to get good at becoming awake in your dreams is by remembering them. When you're remembering them, of course, you write them down. This is how you bring the four-dimensional reality of yourself, your four-dimensional self, into 3D reality. You bring it by remembering it and writing it here. Since you brought 4D reality into 3D reality, that means inversely, the law of inverse or reverse, I forgot the name of the chapter. It's an inverse reaction. The law of reverse probability, I think I forget the name, excuse me. But what's going to happen as you bring that 4D reality into your waking self, automatically your waking self is going to be able to go into your 4D reality. One does the other. So if you are wanting to be awake in your dreams, like to be a lucid dreamer, it isn't as important to try and just wake up in your dreams and ask yourself, am I dreaming? Which is a very, very important thing to do. The other part of it is to bring that reality here, which inversely puts you there. To me, the symbol of yin and yang represents that concept, where those two water droplet looking things are swimming into each other. One's white with a black dot, one's black with a white dot. That's like the night is coming into the day and the day is going into the night. It's the same thing you can do to become awake in your dreams. You bring that reality here. Fourth dimensional reality comes into 3D reality by writing down your dreams. And then therefore your waking self is now invited to become present into your four-dimensional world, which is your dreaming state. I cannot stress how important that is. Get a notepad, get a pen, paper, pencil, put it on your nightstand. Have it sitting there, just sitting there. Remind yourself as you fall asleep, I will remember my dreams. And write them down in the morning. You wake up, write down anything. If you saw an orange, write the orange down. If you saw an orange being sliced in half, write down orange is getting sliced in half. It doesn't matter. I saw an orange, a flower, and an elephant. Orange, flower, elephant. You have to write these things down if you hope to bring fourth dimensional reality to your waking consciousness, therefore taking your waking consciousness into fourth dimensional reality. When we have learned to control the movements of our attention in the four-dimensional world, we shall be able to consciously create circumstances in the three-dimensional world. Consciously, he said. We learn this control through the waking dream, where our attention can be maintained without effort. For attention minus effort is indispensable to changing the future. We can, in a controlled waking dream, consciously construct an event which we desire to experience in the three-dimensional world. Listen to the sentence. We can, in a controlled waking dream, consciously construct an event which we desire to experience in the three-dimensional world. The sensory impressions we use to construct our waking dream are present realities displaced in time or the four-dimensional world. All that we do is in constructing the waking dream is to select from the vast array of sensory impressions those which, when they are properly arranged, imply that we have realized our desire. With the dream clearly defined, we relax in a chair and induce a state of consciousness akin to sleep, a state which, although bordering on sleep, leaves us in conscious control of the movements of our attention. Right on the edge. When we have achieved that state, we experience in imagination what we would experience in reality were this waking dream an objective fact. When we get to that state of akin to sleep, we don't go to sleep. We experience in imagination what we would experience in reality were this waking dream an objective fact. In applying this technique to change the future, it is important always to remember that the only thing which occupies the mind during the waking dream is the waking dream, the predetermined action which implies the fulfillment of our desire. How the waking dream becomes physical fact is not our concern. Anytime you see the word how or hear from Neville anywhere, pay close attention. You're never to be concerned with how. His ways are past finding out. How the waking dream becomes physical fact is not our concern. If you have a habit of thinking how this and how that, stop it. I'm giving you permission right now. Just stop it. Stop it, stop it, stop it. It's very difficult. Habits are a trip. Habits are like a law. I've read a yellow book called The Power of Habit. Oh boy. You want to drill down into it? That's a good book to read. But they and I think I heard Neville say it, it's like they're like a law to you. When a habit's a habit, it's like a law. It's like you have to do this thing, whatever it is. If your habit is constantly asking how, at least you know you have the worst habit to overcome. I'm telling you that a habit in general is one thing, but the habit of how is a doozy. So good luck with that. Let go of it. I myself too have this embedded. We all have, I would think, embedded to some degree or another, but hopefully let's bring it to the least degree. Our acceptance of the waking dream as physical reality wills the means for its fulfillment. Our acceptance of the waking dream as physical reality wills the means for its fulfillment. Let me again lay the foundation of change in the future, which is nothing more than a controlled waking dream. 1, define your objective. Know definitely what you want. What do you want? What do you want? Have you written that down? Write it in the comments. What do you want? Put a number 1. Here's what I want. I want to be president. Whatever. What do you want? Number 1. Know definitely what you want, all right? That's your objective. 2, construct an event which you believe you will encounter following the fulfillment of what you want, your desire. Something which will have the action of self predominant. An event which implies the fulfillment of your desire. Self-predominant means an event which implies the fulfillment of your desire. If you're walking into your house from your honeymoon, that means you had the honeymoon. That means you had the wedding. That means you had the vacation and the time off. That means you had the proposal. That means you had the date. That means you got along. That means you kissed. Everything is included. All of the above is included when you construct the event which you believe you will encounter following the fulfillment of your desire. If you're at the end, everything else already goes with it. You only have to be concerned about the end and none of the how of anything before. You don't need to be concerned with anything before. Nothing. You don't have to be concerned about your weight, your height, your width, your whatever. Nothing matters when you go to the end, after the fulfillment of your desire. 3, immobilize the physical body and induce a state of consciousness akin to sleep. Then mentally fill yourself right into the proposed action. Okay, I'm walking in with my new spouse into our new home. I'm walking across the foyer. I'm being carried across the foyer. What does it feel like to be carried? Okay, lay back in his arms. Immobilize the physical body and induce a state of consciousness akin to sleep. Then mentally fill yourself right into the proposed action, imagining all the while that you are actually performing the action here and now. In your here and now. You imagine yourself being carried across the threshold of your new house after coming back from the honeymoon. That imagining is here. It is now. Otherwise, you couldn't imagine it. You couldn't even imagine it unless it was here and it was now. That's how this works. How can you imagine this? I'm going to set this up for tomorrow at 2 o'clock. No. It doesn't work like that. I'm going to imagine this happened before. No, that doesn't. We're not going to go past in future. That's not where your power is applied. Shout out to Seth. Your power is in the present, period. I know Neville says it too, but your power is only now. So when you go and mentally feel yourself into the proposed action, imagining all the while that you were actually performing the action here and now, so that you experience and imagine what you would experience in the flesh, where you now to realize your goal. That is step 3 and the final action here. It is your now this is happening. When you're imagining being carried over the threshold of your new house with your new spouse, that imagining is only happening in one place. Here, obviously, and now only. That's it. And the greater thing is, when you're absent from your now, meaning you close these off to these senses, you're not concerned about the shadow world, because that's the past. You're concerned with the now world. The now is your imagination. Everything out here is a shadow. Physical reality is 3D reality, is a shadow of your fourth dimensional self. Your fourth dimensional self is imagination reality. It's where you're one with the Lord. It's in the house of your Father. It's right here. This is fourth dimensional reality. These are closed. You're in fourth dimensional reality. This is what casts a shadow upon 3-dimensional reality. 3-dimensional reality is the past. So the only now that actually exists is fourth dimensional reality. When you close those peepers, you're in fourth dimensional reality. It behooves you to take your nap. I take naps every single day. Go to Seth Speaks and read chapter 8. He only talks about it in one chapter. I know I'm mixing formulas here, but it really is profound. He talks about how much sleep you don't need, but also the potential importance of a nap if you do reduce your sleep to the amount he talks about in that chapter. Seth Speaks, chapter 8. Doesn't talk about it in any more than 48 books, but in that one book only. And the idea of taking a nap every day, if you're going to shorten your sleep, it's very profound, because you get to go to your sats falling asleep twice a day. You get to wake up in sats twice a day. If you're not going to stop and do meditation, that is. So naps are very, very, very positive, very good, very opportunistic. Define your objective, number 1. Know definitely what you want. Number 2, construct an event that you believe you will encounter following the fulfillment of your desire. An event which implies the fulfillment of your desire. Number 3, immobilize your physical body. Induce a state of consciousness akin to sleep. Then mentally feel yourself right into the proposed action, here and now, so that you experience it in imagination, what you would experience in the flesh, where you're now to realize your goal. Speaking of fourth dimensional and 3-dimensional, you can understand what he's talking about with the future and the past. I am boosting it with the idea of fourth dimensional and 3-dimensional. I know he's going to cover it. I learned it from him. But the idea is, I don't know where, if it's right here in this chapter or in this book, but your fourth dimensional self is now. It's the moment of nowness. It's the only moment that matters, here and now. So whatever you're doing in that imagination of yours, whatever that is casting the past event, which is the event you wake up to. That's the past, as I've said before. Your waking reality is your past. So fourth dimensional reality is where you can change that, which means you're really affecting your future. When you're in fourth dimensional reality, you're affecting the future. Future is fourth dimensional reality. Experience is 3-dimensional reality, which is your past. It's the past of that fourth dimensional self. Experience has convinced me that this is the perfect way to achieve my goal. However, my own many failures would convict me were I to imply that I have completely mastered the movements of my attention. I can, however, with the ancient teacher say, this one thing I do, forgetting those things which are behind and reaching forth unto those things which are before, I press toward the mark for the prize. End of chapter. Oh, man. Assumptions become facts out of this world. Chapter 2. What a great chapter. I mean, my favorite part is that last part we covered. I really do feel that when you understand fourth dimensional reality like that, that it opens up a whole new envelope of potential for you. Let me make sure we make this complete. All that is, I am God right here. Self-concept, the one you're in now, the one you want to be in. Many other opportunities are there for you. Anything you want to be, all potentials exist. They're all already done. Here you are, where you currently exist. Let's say you're single and you're not married and you're not in love with anybody and you want to be. You make that impression on this subconscious, and we already know that this objectifies into 3D reality. Where does 4D reality exist here? I and my Father are one. My Father is greater than I. Fourth dimensional reality exists right here when you make that subconscious impression. That's fourth dimensional reality. This subconscious impression has to do with any imagining, any thought. All thoughts with feeling are objectified. Every thought with feeling is put into your subconscious. Not every thought, but every thought with feeling. Every thought with feeling is put into your subjective. That gets objectified. So you want to be careful of your thoughts. The one thing we're trying to control in all of this work is our thoughts and our feelings. It's the one main thing. Our thoughts and our feelings. It's them together which is most dangerous. If you figure that if you're in a place where you feel like there's limitations in that place or space, then it's your thoughts and feelings that put you right here. And remember, you kept investigating the outside world, thinking that that's supposed to show you changing by changing your thoughts. Well, if you didn't put the feeling with the thought and subjectively impress your consciousness, your subconscious, then you kept looking at the world for the results. You kept looking for land before sea, as they say. The changes always precede, they don't follow. Looking out here means you're looking for what follows. You have an idea and you think you put the feeling with it and you put it into your subconscious, but you didn't because you didn't believe, and you keep looking out here. You're only stuck in this loop. It's an infinite loop. And the reason you don't see your objectification is because you keep looking out here. That brings you back over here, that you don't believe this works. You don't believe you made the impression. You're actually not making the impression, because something you believe doesn't even believe this is possible. Then you go looking at the world. Then you're looking at YouTube. Then you're looking at Google. Then you're finding another teacher. Then you're looking, all the while, I am. Where is your wisdom? Your wisdom is here. I am. Of course, these are closed. I am. What is it I would thoroughly enjoy? Go back, define your first objective. Number 1. That was number 1. Construct an event. Number 2. Immobilize the body and induce the state of consciousness akin to sleep. See the event. Very, very good instructions. All right. Hope that makes sense. I'm glad we didn't miss a chance to put our image on the board. We'll see you in the next chapter.